Hey everyone, it's Andre Luck. Just so you all know, this is take two of this video. Summer's here now, and we're adjusting to the whole home office thing. So if you see my daughter pop in, she may need snacks, she may need to go to the bathroom, she just may just want to chat and join us to talk B2B sales. But no, excited for my topic here for this week to share in this video. And over the past few weeks, I've been talking about selling B2C versus B2B, the benefits of being a high level B2B seller within sports, and how that can progress and grow your career. And that's where I see sales starting to head in sports, out of sports, but really heavy B2B. There's, as you think through it, there's not really many outbound B2C sales roles because a lot of that is more marketing led, more getting automated. So I think if you're a new seller, this will be good for you, just talking about how to get started selling B2B, how your management team can help support you with that, and also some of the things and lessons I learned early in my career when I started in my B2B approach that I thought was sound and I thought was good, but realized that I really didn't know what I was doing. So we'll start there. My first year selling with the Arizona Diamondbacks was in 2008. And a lot of our efforts were focused on past season ticket holders, single game buyers, really B2C focus. But I wanted to call businesses. I heard that they can spend more money. Some of the better sellers on the team had sold to businesses. So every year we get really excited when the new Phoenix Business Journal book of lists would come out. I think every city and every market has that. So we'd all get it. We'd highlight through it. We'd share pages and target different industries or different lists within that. And so I came across the list. I remember printing it out. It was put on an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document, print it out, and I would highlight the leads I call. I didn't have an in-depth CRM system yet back in those days. I remember working through this list and I was making my calls and I got an appointment set. And one of my first sales, actually might have been my first sale, was to a business. They bought club seats. They were super excited. I was like, all right, this is where I want to go. Like, I'm going to sell businesses. And my bigger sales that year were from businesses. And I thought in myself, I'm like, all right, I'm a pretty good B2B seller. I made 4 or 5 sales. The biggest ones are to businesses. I know what I'm doing. And as I look back on my career, what I didn't realize at the time with all 4 of those buyers, they were either past season ticket holders or they were already interested when I called. They just hadn't happened to reach out yet. And I think as a seller, you're going to come across those opportunities. And if that's the game you want to play, where like I'm just going to play the numbers game, and if I make 250, 500 calls, eventually I'm going to come across someone. You could try that, but I don't think that's sustainable. And I don't think as a business, it's going to be sustainable either. And as a leadership team, they're going to want you to be a little more tactical, a little more strategic if you're going to be reaching out to businesses on a regular basis. So looking back, one of the things I think I could have done a lot better job of is like really diagnosing why they were looking to purchase tickets. I probably left money on the table. I probably missed out on opportunities because I made the call. They're like, yeah, I would love to talk, and I thought that that was selling businesses, but there's the stat out there, I've shared it before, that 5% of your target accounts. So if you really get specific on the type of accounts that you want to target, 5% at any time are in market to purchase. So that means there's another 95% out there that we're missing out on opportunities. And yes, we need to get that 5%. We need to make sure that, however we can find them, however we identify them, we get those 5%. What signals they're showing us that they're interested in they have intent to purchase and learn more. Like, we need to make sure we get those, but typically there's not enough of that to reach your sales targets, or as a team for you to hit the numbers that you want to hit from a B2B perspective. So you got to find ways to get to that 95%. Or when you come across someone who's in that, and they're not going to tell you I'm in market or out of market, but just knowing the sheer numbers in your head, we got to be a little more specific, got to be a little more targeted in our approach. And on the sales side, what you can do, as you're reaching out, as you find an account, as you find a contact within the account, understand the persona that you're talking to. What's their title? What are things that are relevant to that person? What value can you provide them that gets them interested in hearing more about, your product? And then on the marketing side, if you work closely with your marketing team, they can help you create content. If there isn't support for marketing, you can still do this on your own. There's, video content that you can get, testimonials from your members, or if you have events throughout the year where people are talking about, hey, here's why I purchased from a business, or you just jump on a Zoom call with them and record that and ask them if you could share that with other prospects or clients that you're working with and tell their story for you. So taking those testimonials, taking those case studies, hopefully, as an organization, you're pumping that out at a high level to anyone that you might be targeting, and then those people come to you inbound, or at least more educated or well informed when your sales team reaches outbound. But if there isn't that support or alignment between sales and marketing, you could do a lot of that on your own as a seller. So you can use those in your email outreach. You could send it through LinkedIn messages, or just depending on where they're at in the buying phase. If they're pretty new and they're just kind of, you haven't had a conversation with them, maybe it's more high level content about different businesses you worked with. If you know specifically the industry and the persona, and you have something a little more targeted, maybe share that testimonial, share that case study. Get them a little more interested in having a conversation with you and taking the meeting. And then from there, once you get the meeting, working to try and convert them to an eventual sale. So those are people that are probably a little more advanced in their B2B sales processes, and how you can ask for support at the management level across your business analytics and marketing team, to help support the efforts. And when you're going outbound, as you talk to people, this isn't the first time they're hearing about your team and doing business with your team and what other companies do. If you're brand new, so I've talked about, I see a shift happening, in sports sales where, B2C is starting to get a lot more automated. So if I am a new seller, or if I was talking to someone who's looking to start their career in sales, I would make sure that they start their B2B sales process early. That's something that I was always hesitant as a manager, because it can be a lengthy sales cycle. There's a lot more in-depth to selling to businesses versus talking to people who have come to games and are fans, and there's already an implied interest. Like, there's a level of business acumen you need as a B2B seller that maybe you don't have coming right out of college or your first few years selling. So you need to up level that. You need to speed that process up of getting to understand how businesses work. And if you look outside of sports, new sellers, they sell B2B, like tech sales, all other sales, like that's all B2B from the get-go. Maybe they're just more setting meetings for a more experienced person down the road to take it over, but it's all B2B sales. So if I'm a brand new seller, or it's in my first few years, and you're like, all right, Andre, you've been blabbering about B2B sales, I want to dive into this, or I want to get better at it, like, where do I start? I think the first thing is setting a goal. Work with your supervisor, work with your manager. Like, what's that split ratio between some of the leads that, they have you working on, whether it's, past group buyers, past single game buyers, past season ticket buyers, all those B2C leads. I would say set a target of like, all right, in 90 days, I want to be 50-50 in my outreach from B2C versus B2B. So if you're making 100 activities a day, you want at least 50 of those to be B2C, 50 of those to be B2B. And I don't think don't just start and jump right to that. Like, you have to build out a plan and slowly go. I've trained with my wife for a few half marathons over the years. And if I just went out and started trying to run, 5, 10, 13 miles that we're ultimately going to run, I wouldn't have much success and be like, all right, this is terrible, I'm not going to do it. There's a plan that we found online where, each week it incrementally builds up 1 mile, another mile, so that by that last week, you're within range of running the 13 miles that you're going to be running in a half marathon. And I would say take a similar approach. There's similar plans for if you're on a diet, if you're doing a new workout plan. Do the same, with your outbound outreach, and say, all right, maybe in week one, 90% is going to be B2C, 10% is going to be B2B. And then you slowly build that up so that in 90 days or whatever that time frame you set, you're at that target market you want to be at of 50-50 in that split kind of ratio. Um, I'd say the other thing that could work for you and you should do is, get to know the people that manage the business accounts that you have, whether that's like a premium service person, or a customer success or customer retention team. Within their account base, there's businesses that purchase tickets. So understand from them, like, just pick their brain, ask them, why do people purchase? What do they enjoy most about, the tickets that they purchase with us? See if you could even jump on a call with them to meet some of them, or ask to speak with some of your members, just so you understand what went into this decision, so that when you're out talking to new prospects, you can share those stories. Maybe you didn't personally sell them, but you could say, we have companies similar to you, and I talked to VPs of sales similar to you that work with us as a team, and here's why they do it. It lends more credibility. And then also for you, when I go back to, you don't have a lot of business acumen probably starting out, and maybe understand how businesses work internally and use tickets, this will really help level up that skill set, level up that acumen, so that when you're having conversations, you're a lot more well versed and you lend a lot more credibility to the conversation. Another tip that's going to help you is using Chat GPT. That's my go-to for anything when I get started, just to get some thoughts out there. And what Chat GPT is very good at is letting you know trends in industries, certain pain points or challenges or priorities based on a certain industry persona. So, a head of sales or a head of marketing for a particular industry can get pretty specific for you and help you if you've never talked to anyone in the industry and you don't know what's relevant or of value to them. That can help you really understand that. So when you go into your conversation, you're more informed, you're more educated. It can even give you some sample templates on emails and scripts. Like, don't copy it verbatim, put your own personality into it. But that's another good tool for you as early sellers to use that. And you could literally plug in like, hey, this is the product I sell. I work for XYZ team. This is what I'm selling. Here's who I'm reaching out to. Give me some tips on how I could best get a meeting set with that person. Give me some tips on, when I have a meeting, what are some good questions I could ask? So then you're not going into it blind, and work with your leader on that too, because, they should have some experience of doing it in the past, and some of the top sellers on your team, those are good people to go to, good resources, maybe even shadow them on some of their meetings so that you can, see how a meeting's run, so that when you're on the call, you know what that next step is in the process, or when you're running a meeting, you've gone through it, you've seen it, and you've got some experience to it. And the last piece is just starting to do outreach. It's great to come up with a plan and a strategy. Sometimes we talk ourselves out of it. Like, there's something to be said for just picking up the phone and starting to call a business. And you're going to sound bad. It's going to be rough to start. I know it was for me, but each day, each week, the repetitions get easier. You start to see more success, and you start to compound, the opportunities and successes that you're having, and start to see, some of those small wins. Maybe you're overcoming an objection now. Maybe now you're getting more meetings set. Maybe those meetings are turning into sending out proposals and eventually leading to sales. All that, starts to compound if you stick with it and you're consistent with it. Where I've seen people miss is, they do it a little bit here, a little bit there, and they never really stay consistent with it. If you're not, I'd say don't do it, because it's such a long sales cycle. There's so many variables. Businesses aren't on our timeline for a season. They're on their own business cycle and timeline and priorities that are going on with their business, that if you're not always consistently putting people in the funnel and moving them along, you have people at different stages, it's going to be too irregular. And there's too much pressure as salespeople to get more immediate sales, so that if you're sporadically calling businesses, it's not worth your time. I'd rather spend more energy on the stuff that may convert, although for a smaller dollar amount, more frequently than the inconsistencies of, when, B2B sales happen. It does take some time to build up, your pipeline and have a consistent pipeline coming through. But as I said, you have to get started at some point, whether it's brand new as a seller, or, you're deeper in your career and you're looking to take it to the next level from a sales perspective. You have to have B2B in the mix, and you have to have that as part of your process and be sound with it. And then the last thing I'll say is recognize if you're calling B2B sales people that are coming to you interested or coming inbound that happen to be using it for business use, versus you going out finding people, whether it's in that 5% of people that are, in market for a solution, or the 95% who are not in market. You have to be able, as a high level seller, as an experienced salesperson doing B2B sales, to be able to go out and get people outbound and proactively, source your own opportunities. Hopefully there's demand for your product. Hopefully your marketing team is pushing people your way so that the conversations are better. But if not, that can't be an excuse. And we can't, just say that we're selling businesses if they're people who are already coming to us interested. We have to be able to also create our opportunities on our own. So love to hear any feedback. It's been great. The response to this has been great. If there's any questions I could ask, feel free to reach out. The best way to reach me is on LinkedIn. But I'll be back here next week for another tip as it relates to B2B sales and applying it to sports. So appreciate you tuning in. Thanks.